They thought they could humiliate my grandfather and get away with it. They thought tearing down his wheelchair ramp in the middle of the night would break him, that an old man wouldn't fight back, that his family wouldn't rally behind him. But what they didn't know was that this so-called code violation was about to spark a chain of events that would leave them exposed, disgraced, and paying the price for every ounce of cruelty they showed him. And the sweetest part? We didn't just rebuild the ramp. They practically built the case against themselves. My grandfather is one of those men who defines quiet strength. He worked with his hands his whole life, raised his family with calloused palms and a strong back. He wasn't flashy, he wasn't rich, but he had dignity. The ramp we built for him wasn't some eyesore. It was his bridge to the outside world, the one thing that let him leave the house with independence. Watching him roll down it with that little smile, the kind that says, "I may be old, but I'm still free," was something our whole family cherished. Then came the morning when I heard wood splintering and angry voices. I rushed outside and froze. There they were, strangers in neon vests, ordered by the HOA, dismantling the ramp plank by plank like it was some illegal shack. And there was my grandfather, standing at the doorframe, gripping the side like he was trying not to collapse, eyes wet not from age but from helpless rage. My heart clenched in a way I can't describe. That ramp wasn't just wood, it was his independence, and they were ripping it away. We argued, begged, pleaded. "He needs this. You can't do this." They smirked like predators smelling blood. One of them waved a paper in my face and said, "Violation. You can't have unapproved structures." The word violation echoed in my head like a curse. I wanted to scream. My grandfather just turned away, shoulders slumped, retreating back into a prison he thought he'd escaped. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his hands trembling as the ramp disappeared. My chest burned with a fury I'd never felt before. I knew then that this wasn't just about a ramp. This was about respect, dignity, and fighting back against people who thought they were untouchable. So I started digging, hours on end, pouring through zoning codes, municipal laws, and disability acts. At first, it was overwhelming. Pages of legal jargon meant to confuse anyone who wasn't a lawyer. But every word I read sharpened me, fueled me, and then, buried in the dense language, I found it. The Americans with Disabilities Act. Clear as day. Not only was Grandpa's ramp allowed, but the HOA was legally obligated to accommodate him. My pulse quickened. They hadn't just been cruel, they'd broken the law. That discovery felt like fire in my veins. I wasn't reckless. I gathered proof. Doctor's notes, photographs, written testimonies from neighbors who witnessed the demolition. We filed everything meticulously, step by step. Then, while they thought they had crushed us into submission, we rebuilt the ramp, this time with full city permits, signed approvals, stamped paperwork. When the last nail was hammered in, I stood back and felt this deep, satisfying calm. Not only was Grandpa's freedom restored, but this ramp was untouchable. When the HOA came storming back, smug as ever, they thought they'd catch us defying them again. But instead of tearing down wood, they were met with official city documents, stamped with authority. The smugness on their faces drained like water down a sink. One of them stammered, But this wasn't approved by us." And I couldn't help the grin that spread across my face when I said, "You're right, it wasn't approved by you, it was approved by the city, by the law. And you're in violation now." The silence that followed was delicious. You could see the realization dawn on them that they'd not only failed, but they'd trapped themselves. Their arrogance had led them straight into legal quicksand. Weeks later, when the fines hit and the HOA president resigned in disgrace, we watched from our porch as Grandpa rolled down his ramp with the biggest grin I'd ever seen. The people who thought they could strip him of dignity were powerless now, and everyone knew it. And here's the thing, revenge didn't come from breaking the rules, it came from mastering them better than the bullies ever could. Sometimes the strongest move isn't shouting but letting justice speak for itself. And that ramp, it wasn't just wood and screws anymore. It was proof that no one, no matter how powerful they think they are, gets to strip away someone else's freedom. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and tell me in the comments, what asks the most satisfying revenge you've ever witnessed? And don't forget to subscribe because stories like this, they're just the beginning. Karma has a way of rolling back around, and sometimes it rolls down a ramp smoother than you could ever imagine.